Welcome back to the Compliance Lab on the QT9 QCast. Let me start with a hard truth. Rework is one of the most expensive ways to manufacture the same unit twice. It looks productive, people are busy, and parts are moving, the line is still running, but underneath all of that activity, margin is leaking, schedules are shifting, and your quality system is quietly absorbing chaos. And that is what we're talking about today, the rework tax. Here's the issue. A batch fails inspection. Production gets rescheduled, shipments slip, labor hours climb, and somehow, after all of that, most companies still cannot clearly answer one simple question. What did that rework event actually cost us? That is the rework tax. It is the hidden cost of fixing work that should have flowed correctly the first time. If rework happens outside a defined system, now you are not just spending more, you're creating risk. Let's make it real. Imagine a regulated manufacturer on a Thursday afternoon. A work order fails inspection on a critical characteristic. The lot gets moved to hold. Operations wants it back fast because the customer ship date is already tight. So the team does what a lot of teams do. They improvise. An operator starts reworking units at a side bench. QA says that they need to review the disposition before release. The planner moves another order to keep the line busy. Shipping updates the promise date. Finance sees the labor hours go up, but outputs stay flat. And by Monday, the product may be out the door. But nobody can tell you with confidence the full cost of doing the work twice. And that is the rework tax in action. Failure number one. The first failure is process related. Rework is being treated like an unofficial side path instead of a controlled workflow. That is where the trouble starts. Instead of moving through a defined route for a hold, review, disposition, rework, and reinspection, teams create a workaround, a manual fix here, a verbal instruction there, a quick save to keep the order moving. It feels fast, but it creates variation, weakens traceability, and makes repeatability worse. And in a regulated environment, that all matters, because once product leaves the original plan, it needs a controlled path back to conformance. The fix. Formalize rework inside your quality system, not as a favor that the floor does for the schedule, not as an informal rescue step, as a real defined process. That means a disposition workflow, hold, investigate, approve, rework, reinspect, release. It means documented rework instructions when needed, and it means capturing the job or batch, the defect category, the rework performed, and the verification that the product now meets requirements. Because if rework is real, it needs a real process. The second failure is people and leadership related, because a lot of companies do not truly own rework. They survive it. Operations wants output. Quality wants control. Engineering wants technical correctness. Finance wants the labor under control. And everyone feels the pain. But no one owns the whole problem. So, what happens? The organization starts rewarding heroics. The supervisor who saves the shipment, the technician who fixes impossible parts, the QA person who squeezes in one more review. That might save the week, but it does not improve the system. And when leadership celebrates recovery more than prevention, rework starts to feel normal. It becomes just a part of the business. That is dangerous because normalized rework traps your best people in repair mode instead of improvement mode. The fix. Make rework reduction a cross-functional management responsibility. Put one accountable owner on rework by product family, line, or site. Review it weekly with operations, quality, engineering, and planning. And do not just ask, did we get the order out? Ask, why did we need the rework? Who owns the systemic cause? And when will we know the fix actually worked? That is what turns rework from a hero story into an improvement discipline. The third failure is measurement and systems related. Most companies do not have one place where rework shows up as a true business event. The nonconformance will sit in the QMS. The labor sits over in the ERP. The scrap lives in an Excel spreadsheet. And the hold time is buried in someone's inbox or somewhere in the production schedule. The release delay shows up later as a missed delivery. So every department sees a fragment, but nobody sees the full bill. And if you cannot see the full bill, You cannot prioritize the problem correctly. This is exactly why rework cannot be managed through disconnected systems. The fix: create one connected rework record flow. You want to tie the nonconformance or failed inspection to the disposition. Tie that disposition to labor capture and reinspection. Tie that to the work order, the batch, the schedule impact, and the final release. Now, rework stops looking like a hidden side effect and it becomes a visible operational reality. Once it is measurable, it then becomes manageable. So here's how I would start fixing this in 30 days. Week 1, map a rework path. Pick one product family or one line, follow a recent rework event from a failed inspection all the way through release. Identify every handoff, every approval, every delay, and every place where cost disappears. Week 2, standardize the workflow. You want to define your required rework statuses and disposition codes. Make clear when QA approval is required, when engineering input is needed, and what must be documented before release. Week 3, capture the cost at the event level. For that pilot area, require minimum fields: rework hours, scrap, queue time on hold, disposition type, and linked work order or batch number. Keep it simple, but make it mandatory. In week 4, run a weekly rework review. You want to bring ops, quality, and engineering together for 20 minutes. Review the top rework drivers, assign action owners, and check whether fixes are reducing repeat events. Now, this will not eliminate rework overnight, but it will stop rework from hiding. And that is the first real win. Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a few metrics that really matter here, because anytime you're talking about rework, you have got to measure more than just the fact that it happened. You want to understand, where is it happening? How often is it happening? And what is it costing you? What is it doing to the rest of the business? First, look at rework hours by product line. This tells you how much labor is being spent fixing product instead of producing it. And that is a big deal because it shows you exactly where capacity is being eaten up and which areas of the business are feeling the most strain. Next is rework rate by work order or batch. This helps you see how often rework is actually occurring. It is a really important metric because it helps you tell the difference between an occasional issue and a pattern that points to something deeper in the process. And then there's first pass yield. This is one of the clearest indicators of process health because it shows you how much product is getting through the process correctly the first time. When first pass yield starts going up, that usually means that your upstream controls are improving as well. You also want to keep an eye on the cost of rework versus the cost of scrap. And this is where you start to understand whether you are truly recovering value through rework or whether you are putting so much time and money into fixing product that you are just masking a bigger problem. Another metric that often gets overlooked is queue time caused by hold, rework, and release. And this is not just about the hands-on time it takes to fix something. It is about the waiting, the delays, the schedule disruption that builds up around it. And honestly, that is where a lot of operational pain tends to hide. And finally, look at on-time delivery impact from rework. This is the one that connects quality directly to customer performance. It shows whether internal quality issues are starting to affect delivery commitments, and that is usually the kind of metric that gets leadership's attention very quickly. So those are the KPIs I would keep front and center on this topic. Because when you track the right metrics, rework stops being just a frustrating cost of doing business and starts becoming something you can actually analyze, improve, and reduce. So, if there's one takeaway from this week's episode, it is this: rework is not just repair work. It's a tax on labor, flow, margin, and confidence. And when it lives outside a controlled system, it becomes expensive in all the ways that matter most. You want to control the process, you want to create real ownership and connect the data. Because in regulated manufacturing, compliance is not separate from operations. It is how operations stay stable, visible, and scalable. Now, on the Compliance Lab, every week we talk through tips and ideas that can be applied in almost any ERP or quality management system situation. The whole point of the series is to look at common issues in quality and operations and share some practical ways that teams can work smarter and more efficiently. Of course, putting changes like this into action is a lot easier when you have quality and operations data and systems already connected. And that's really one of the big advantages of using a platform like Qt9, where QMS and ERP are built to work together and share data seamlessly. To learn more, check out qt9software.com. Thank you for joining me this week on the episode of Compliance Lab. on the QT9 QCast. If you found this helpful, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming releases and more exciting guest interviews. Until next time, keep improving and stay compliant.